This has been a massive success, hasn't it? It's like
look,
not just
what?
Not just a little flight either. It's like
Hi everyone, hope you're well. Ever since I started flying paragliders about 5 years ago and coming from a drone and RC background, I've always wondered what it would be like to build and fly a remote control paraglider, but like the full size, the whole thing. So as we're now in 2020 and we want to do bigger and better projects on this channel, that's exactly what we're going to do. So I started with doing a sketch, as you always do, before you build something. And it's very simple, but I think the biggest unknown was how to pull the line in. So I built some drums, designed them in CAD, and then 3D printed the guys. I did it in two parts so that I could have clean surfaces on both and just super glue them together. Then the next problem is how to turn those drums, because servos usually only go about 90 up to 180 degrees. So had to try to take the things apart and remove that limitation. There's a little pin there on that gear, as you can see. That limits the motion, as well as the potentiometer. So I had to cut that down and pull the pin out, and then it was just a case of adjusting the servo to be right in the middle, so it's not trying to fight it one way or the other. Without that feedback loop, it will just run crazy forever. So put it back together and it should work. There you go. Now we have constant motion one way or the other. So it's time to put the drums on. And I made two of them. I had an initial strength test, because obviously the servos only have a certain amount of torque, and just wanted to make sure it could take some weight. Did a couple handles as well, and sewn some straps for my contraption. That way I can attach the wing, and the main load can go through the strap onto the weight rather than through the frame, if you will. I did some parts in wood as well. That was a bit boring to do, so I'll spare you the details, and now it's a case of assembling it all together. Pre-drill some holes for Velcro straps and hiding cables and zip ties. Because this is going to be used outside, usually if things are a bit fragile, they end up catching. So I tried to make it as robust as possible. And here I should have used a BEC really, but I had an old ESC lying around, so that's what's providing the power from the battery to the receiver and then the servos. Not ideal, I know, but you got to work with what you have. So it's a case of screwing everything in. And finally, the bits of line that will connect the drums to the brakes. Right, so we're at the beach and I'm going to give this thing the first test.
one of us is going to be the dummy pulling up the wing, and the other one, which is Andre, is going to be the controller. Let's go. One go at it anyway.
Yeah, go on.
I've got it! You ready? This is fun!
In the end, on that day, it was just too windy and we were struggling to direct it, and either just putting it down was a challenge.
Woo.
Well, that didn't work. There's way too much wind today for how much weight we've put on the paraglider. Plus, the more weight you put on the sandbag, the harder the servos have to work. In the meantime, I'm gonna have a go with my full 90 kilos. Alright, different day, a little bit, well, a lot less wind. Let's have another go.
3, 2, 1.
I reckon that potentially we can put a little bit more weight on. Oh, hello, Doug.
Oh, hello. This is our friend from yesterday. Hello, Mr. Noodle.
Yeah,
hello.
Anyway, I think we can put a little bit more weight on and go a little bit higher.
Doggy.
That was interesting. That was better.
You managed to put the wing down quite nicely as well.
Yeah,
all things considered.
I kited it a little bit after it dropped down. So I think with this weight, we either have to go a bit higher or we need to take a little bit of weight off. So reset and go again?
Yeah, sounds good. so we've got a bit of it.
Brilliant. Look at that.
This is... Hey, what are you doing?
It flies better than I do.
Don't leave it to go out to sea.
I had a bit too much lift, so I just came back. It just, it's very lightly loaded, so it's just floating around. So I'm trying to stay out as far as possible in front, so I don't get blown back. Right, let's do a little turn.
It's going over the fucking... It's going over the lagoon.
No, it's way too close.
Those farmers are like, what the hell? Farmers, fishermen.
It's like, that's not a person.
Look at the little camera.
Because it's so light, it's actually really easy to go back up.
It's worth mentioning that Andre and I tried to fly this morning and couldn't stay up, so the robot is beating us.
I reckon we have about 20 kilos on it.
Any 20 kilo pilots? It's the day for you.
Right, should I come in for a landing?
Yeah, I think so. This has been a massive success, hasn't it? It's like
look,
not just a little flight either. Yes! Yes! Success!
So the thing actually worked. I couldn't be happier. I was expecting it to be able to control it and to have some problems, but yeah, it worked. It soared. If we didn't decide to come down, we could have stayed up pretty much all day. If we were to do a second version, I probably would readdress the pulling mechanism. It needs to be stronger, it needs to be faster, it needs to have a longer range of motion, and I know how to do that. I just didn't want to spend the money for this version. I wanted to do a simple version first. I'd also put 1 or 2 motors on the speed bar, so because we're flying a big wing with not a lot of weight, it's kind of easy to get caught out in the venturi and get pushed back, which you really don't want to do. So having the speed bar would allow us to penetrate more and flying in more conditions. That's why I was always keeping in front of the hill and making sure I didn't get too high, because then I could go over the back. But yeah, super fun. Definitely the sort of stuff we want to do more. So if you enjoyed it, drop a like, leave your comments down below if you like this sort of project. What else could we try next? And I really want to reiterate that it's all down to these lovely people that support us on Patreon and now on YouTube, because you can do that now here on the join button. So thank you so much for coming on this journey. Here's to 2020, a lot more cool stuff coming up, and I'll see you next time. Bye.